My name is Megan Hobson, and I'd like to dispel the myth that I'm a victim of gun violence, because I'm a survivor of gun violence. I live in a gated community right across from the school, so it wasn't, not to say I was sheltered, but you'd probably get the police coming around every now and then just for what would be noise disturbances, but not really violence in the terms of how it was in other areas of Miami. Well, I wanted to be a doctor. I played tennis and I danced. I kind of had to let that all go. My sister was just turning 22, and we went out to celebrate her birthday. I was 2 weeks shy of turning 17. It was me, my sister, her best friend's 2-year-old son. We were in the car leaving, and I was sleeping in the car. I didn't know where we were. And I remember waking up, it was just 2 shots. That's all I heard. My sister ducked, her best friend ducked, and then I laid on the back seat because the baby was in the back. So I laid him on the floor, and then I kind of had my hand just over him, and it was happening right there. There was bullets flying in and out the car. They were hitting the window looking like fireworks, basically. I didn't tell my sister when I was hit, but I knew I was hit the moment I was. It was a slight nudge in my hip. The bullet had went through the bumper, the trunk, and the back seat. But it wasn't like I saw in the movies. So I didn't scream. I know in the movies a lot of times they get hit and they fall out, and it wasn't like that. I was laying on the back seat, and I just went like this, and then it got hot. At that time, my sister was like, let's get out of here. So she drove to the end of the bend, and she says, is everybody okay? Is everybody okay? I didn't know how to say it, so I was like, no, not really. I've been hit. Immediately, everybody just started panicking. I just see phones flying. She's like, call the police, call mom. And I was just like, call somebody. She called the police. We ended up hanging up on them because they weren't answering the questions or asking the questions that we thought that they should. They're more asking, what are you doing over there? I was going through that life flashes before your eyes moment. I was seeing all my family members. I was seeing everything I've done in my life, everything I want to do. I didn't want to leave my family behind. We got to the urgent care. I remember swinging my legs kind of out the car. And at that moment, I realized I was really hurt because I swung my legs out the car and then I fell. I woke up in the hospital days later, and everybody was around me. All the family was around me. And I was like, how'd you get here so quick? What happened that night was I bled out, and I had to get 35 units of blood and platelets to be resuscitated. So I did end up going into acute stage 4 shock on the table, which is when more than half of your blood leaves the body. It was a high-powered rifle, AK-47 type gun. So when it hit this hip, it went through, tore up the small intestine and the bladder, and then once it hit this other hip, it ricocheted. That was the explosion part of it. It ricocheted and never exited and severed this nerve on the left leg. My sister's car was riddled with bullets, so I'm sure that when she drove up, they were like, what's going on here? Because I think there might have been police at the hospital, outside. They treated her like she did it. But then we later found out that there was a gang that had did something probably 2 blocks over 2 nights prior. And they said, your kids were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. By the time I left recovery and was on my way to rehab, I was kind of coming to terms with the fact that my life was kind of changed forever. I'd never be able to cheer. I'll never be able to dance. I'll never be able to do these things. When we got home, I didn't want to be home the first day. Because the last time I was here, I was able to do everything myself. My bed and my room were probably they were probably this far apart. And to walk from one to the other, I'd get super tired. My foot has a foot drop, so what happens is I walk toe-heel instead of heel-toe with my left foot. So I often trip. Each step I take is painful. I started to get flashbacks. Sometimes they're small triggers. It could be the smell of fireworks or gunpowder. It could be just if I saw this location on the news. My heart just starts to race. Sometimes my hips feel like they're shaking. And I just feel like I just need to get out of where I am because I just don't feel safe for whatever reason. I'd go to work and every day I'd get told that I was slow. So I was always living in that fear that I was going to lose my job. When I went to college, I was at Barry for some time. I was probably my second year, and I realized that I can't remember anything. So I'd do a whole night's work of study, 75 pages if I had to, and then I'd get to 75 and say, I don't remember what was on page 1. And I was trying to ask what was going on to my surgeon, and he told me, he said, well, we should probably check that out because you lost a severe amount of blood that night, so it might be the cause of your memory lapse. That was the last of my schooling at Barry University. I kind of took off school after that. There's a lot of people who are my age or like at my level, and they're very far. Like a lot of them have graduated at this point, and I didn't graduate. I had to realize that I can't keep comparing myself to people because we're kind of not in the same, we're not on the same page. I went through something that they didn't. I'm supposed to do something else with my life, basically. So, like, I know that I survived the shooting for a reason, so I don't want to die and not fulfill that purpose. People often ask me, like, what I would say to the person that shot me. When I think of gangs, I mean, some people think violence, some people think, the havoc that they're wreaking on the communities, but I think of someone wanting to find placement, someone wanting to find that belonging, like, the same way I love my family and didn't want to leave them the night of the shooting. I think there needs to be more so like resources available to even them. I've also learned over time you kind of have to find beauty in the things around you, beauty in your situation, and just go move forward with it that way. And instead of like trying to find things to be mad about or angry about or hateful about, because that's kind of what is driving these malicious behaviors. When I look back at that night, the person who was supposed to take the shot and because they could have handled it, I feel like it was me. So I feel like I was kind of the chosen one because they knew how strong I was. I wouldn't let the bullet beat me. I would try to beat the bullet. I have a lot of guy kids. I have the little boy I saved the night of the shooting. My joy is watching him get to grow up because these are the people who I saw flashing before my eyes the night of the shooting, and that's who I kind of stayed for. So I feel like that's one decision I did get to make for myself.